Sun Falcon, niggas like the swagger. Copper sports Jaguar. I'm Ethan, fuck a gun. I'm shooting raised gamma. Allergic to banana, not the cliff below the hammer. Fuck that cave bitch cracker. King Asiatic, no one's equal to the master. MC not a rapper, cosmic DJ and dancer. Forge dreams, hieroglyphic, forge fiends, optimistic, never of the outcome. Feds are never outrun, cause I didn't have to. Spit without the action. My tempo holds the thoughts of Sheikh Sharif Abdul. My body is the capsule, extra terra astral. Coming like the normal, straight back to Lesbo. I'm running out the homo, not against the person, just against the culture. Situations worse than when we swarming like a vulture. Not to scavenge, I'm here to avenge. Some transform, but I'm here to transcend. Wake you out your sleep, the shepherd of the sheep. Living on the bass chakra, booming in your Jeep. You're going back to Cali. Never heard of Lakshmi. I'm the black one who's the consort of Cali. Not Yoga Yuga. Freeze you with the mudra. Return of Naga Judah, it's the Moorish Sufi Buddha. Killed by a trooper was Milton William Cooper. They hold a pale horse on cells talking moss. Radiate your corpse. There's worms and forks staying in your forks, but they judging me in courts and swearing on the book. And when I swear at home, I'm getting dirty looks. I'm innocent, I'm leaving. Heathen's brains leaking. Not from the wrong when I'm strong and teaching. Facts get you beating. You could say haze and some think that I'm Asian, but when you hear the Trinity, boy, I cuss you in Jamaican. Sun Falcon L, Sun Falcon L, Sun Falcon L, Sun Falcon L, walking out of hell. Some think rebel, well I mean rebel. Shoot up the closets, got them hiding in the cupboard. When they come with talks and call me Negro or colored, but sometimes black, that's an adjective at that. They pinch emotion nerves to make you react. Rose gets a part, but a road from Mike Myers, who's alive and works for television liars. Satellite or neck, saddle or a vet. I'm not looking for love, man, I'm demanding respect. You're slamming on your gavel, then I'm standing on my square. Astro projecting in the realm, I reappear. Calling the soul plane, I saw the prophet there. Don't talk unless address or get the death stare. Dealing with one-on-one questions, Quran. Muslim, not Muslims, praying on my hands. Praises to Allah, praises to Jah, praises to Olokun Oguna Batala. Praises to Ra, God, my bond and my car. Black state that the Masons when we are the sons of Ma. You need to wake up. You need to wake up. You need to wake up. Around the fifth, you need to wake up. The rhyme making no sense to make dollars and holler. On our grounds, rounds leave Moors dead in parlors. So-called blacks call them cracker, then get called Canadian and shun Moors that say they're not Canadian. This world is full of crazy men with no knowledge of self, but got the most expensive cars and flat screens on the wall shelf. Going on our way to try to help you change where you won't. And I hardly hear your opinion of Marcus Garvey, but Steve Harvey stands out, true, cool, and jester, making a fool of you and himself for wealth. To me, those sellouts need to get bodied or exiled to Dr. Moreau's island with Gentiles and reptiles. Fake slave ships stacking bodies and piles, giving fake Jews slave respect, not giving me smiles, calling children kids, chasing after Taji guys, supremacy, use albino and half-breed spies. We catch trespassers with razors and mesh, pedophile, torture, scotch bonnet and open flesh. Traitors get the shitty end of the stick. Our leaders, murderers, should have been crushed with pyramid bricks. Huey Newton and Hampton killers should be in front of a squad shooting by any means necessary. Get out the beast belly. Why y'all get mad glory and your flow's mad corny? Your skin tight jeans put you into F category. Most rappers' names on lists for rhyme pad or Lori, making the comments mad derogatory. Why y'all get mad glory and your flow's mad corny? Your skin tight jeans put you into F category. Most rappers' names on lists for rhyme pad or Lori, making the comments mad derogatory. I balance my art to beam. Sellouts made it mainstream. Underground is almost unseen. Gay A&R signed the rappers' contracts in blood. Took his soul, Body didn't fall with a thud. He's a zombie, dyed hair, dress wearing thug. Burn that garbage, too much to sweep under the rug. Police can't collar a crime without snitches. You're lucky to escape the custody, not dead with just stitches. Make you hit your hair, take Hindus to Ganesha possess ya. And raising your blood pressure. Anything to do with Moors, they don't want you near. Don't search where it's black, you won't find it there. No matter how much you beg, they won't tell you where. No matter how much you don't have, they won't tell you here. Negroes weren't the first slaves, no reparations first. While you wait for your reparations, it looks like a hearse. They won't pay you reparations anyway. Only if you agree to make yourself black and gay. Instead of towards Moors, they want you to stray. Won't find your mind when it's in disarray. Thinking being European is the only way. Hurling insults at your creator. She will get you later. Why y'all get mad glory and your flow's mad corny? Your skin tight jeans put you into F category. Most rappers' names on lists for rhyme pad or lorry. Making me comments mad derogatory. Why y'all get mad glory and your flow's mad corny? Your skin tight jeans put you in F category. Most rappers' names on lists for rhyme pad or lorry. Making me comments mad derogatory. What's the reason for the treason is the question and the lesson. I hear most professing, but really possessing. Taking minds messing with thought patterns and pathways. Nero wanna be a hero when they really cipher, not Neo, not Morpheus or Gillen finding Nemo. Selling out with no remorse, you and yours. Calling you black, showing you who's the boss. Always marching, but never thought sue the police force or do like Haitians. Add some voodoo, of course. You might hurt them unexpected. It could be bloody. Feel your cells curl and your hair stand from walking duppies. Looked, all of a sudden, judge yelled and wept. In court, judge with cold sweats and throat strap. He can't talk yet, cause the candle was lit before I left. Forget Africa. Hip hop was the grand theft. Why y'all get mad glory and your flow's mad corny? Your skin tight jeans put you into F category. Most rappers' names on lists for rhyme pad or lorry. Making me comments mad derogatory. Why y'all get mad glory and your flow's mad corny? Your skin tight jeans put you in F category. Most rappers' names on lists for rhyme pad or lorry. Making me comments mad derogatory.
Yeah. You know, we seek that higher knowledge. Only the ignorant can't relate. We just kill them with love instead of hate. That's what it's about.
We are Moors.
Shout out to the Grand Sheik, Autochthon Indigenous. Yeah.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Blue, white, green fairs, not just red. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and movies for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name crest might have a Moor head. We are Moors.
20 Moors rockin', you could call them Moroccans. Racial West Adepts, let's get it poppin'. Got a problem with my sheep? Got a problem with me. I be on the front line rolling 23 deep. I be studying for hours, 7 days a week, working on my higher self, cause the devil don't sleep. Big ups to Cujo L, that's the Iron Sheep. 7's up, facing the east, praising Allah. Astrology, cosmology, that's the real law. I slow roast ya, master the flame like Zoe Roaster. The rise of the new Moors, old heads move over. That Kundalini energy rising up like a cobra. This is training day, mount up with real soldiers. Elevate beyond the hate and claim your lost estate. The only reason you hate is you too blind to relate. The only reason you hate is you too blind to relate.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? I don't rock a hat, just a turban, no affairs. We are Moors. Heard what I said?
Keep talking reckless and movies for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name crest might have a more head. Stop talking crazy. You can't be everything but Moors. That's like willing to stay minority and not mature. Therefore, Tosh to be gay taught the world don't respect you. However, since you wanna be it, you go down when they fall. They, the ones you call government, that's really a corpse. Black man means funeral director. Should make sense, of course. Music is the food, and the message, the medicine. Humble food is poison. I'm with the golden era veterans, like Mark D. Condolences, QB, RIP Prodigy, who studied the history of the Moors and etymology. You missed the Corsica headband, disguised as a bandana. Moorish MC, the real Moroccan, not a French Montana. Kendrick Lamar, you said right, trust me, Hebrew's a language. Lupe put Moors in this video, made the point vantage. You're seeing Bay knows Sabebe knows Moorish master MC. Fuquan Bay and Daddy IU on some Moorish degrees. Sprague and Bojuno, they even killed Peter because of Macintosh. Still visit digable planets, hip-hop astronauts. Milky Way flow, rays of tassels, blind unbelievers. To higher than other senses, to still pick up the frequency. Pick your addiction, truth will still make itself known. To go platinum now, you gotta give up more plus your soul. Watch Professor build pyramids, I watch drink champ steady. Cause Nori said Drew Ali on a track, so call me petty. Also more exec produced the War Report album. Aboriginal Super Cat taught me how to hang and scalp them. Operation Lockdown, video feathers like I said to do. Initiate invasions, activate at doors every spook. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Blue, white, green fairs, not just red. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and movies for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name crest might have a more head.
Come along and study with me, my friends.
Islam Moors. Peace and love to all Moors. Whoops, did that just happen? I want to say happy holy day to all the Moors. And, you know, he said the ball was rolling, so we might as well keep it, going. Might as well keep it going and get one more day in of putting it out there. So, you know, we're going into the vaults again for the Moors. Just because it has to be done. And as usual, like when Wu-Tang brought Smith and Wesson in to do the track with Raekwon, I had to bring in some real professionals for the job today. The job of proving that all you have to do is look it up. Like all you have to do is look it up. You save every single one of your problems that you think that you had. So we're going to throw a shout out to the brother Autochthon in this one, because he's been beating them in the head that they're not black and all that. Been beating them in the head. I saw a video get posted about Aborigine Affidavit of Declaration. And, you know, being that we took our oath as Aboriginal Indigenous, being that we're Moors, there were some things that we want to make sure we emphasize so people could really get the perspective as to why Noble Drew Ali Qayyum saying what it is that he said with regard to this wake-up call for the so-called Negro, Black, Colored, and Ethiopian people, so that they're clear. And of course, all of the jurisdictions willingly accept Black or Indian. They might attach other stuff to it, but they don't play like Moors and say, no, don't call us that. They go with the fraud while claiming to be free and claiming to have sovereignty and claiming that they're tribes of whatever. When it's a lot deeper than people think. Islam, Moors.
Islam. Islam.
I don't know where you want to start. If you want to just put your stuff on the record, and then we'll go from there.
All right. This brother Yusuf Musadiel checking in from Morocco, the Empire.
Brother Navi Bay, also in Morocco. I'd like to say happy early vernal equinox to the Moors. Islam.
Islam. So we'll just start playing and stop in places where we needed to address.
The Autochthonist one, and you see the title is Affidavit of Declaration. I did a video earlier. Y'all already know what it is. A few people inboxed me, sent me a couple of emails, and I got like 12, 13 emails. I ain't really feel like sending them to all you guys, so I'm gonna put it right here. And if anybody want it, just email me again. And I'm just gonna basically show you what I basically did to declare Aborigine. Now understand this, right? This for entertainment purposes, okay? It's not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. This is at your own risk. If this shit do not work out for you, please do not hit me back. This is free. I'm not charging anybody for anything. So if you don't follow the complete steps that I tell you, and you miss a step and it doesn't work out for you, don't hit me back saying, oh, it didn't. That's on you, okay? Because the shit worked for me, and I live it and I be it every day.
Any interjection yet?
Yeah, of course. Of course. You know, just off of the fact that I don't know if we can just go on just off of the Affidavit of Declaration. And then when he's calling in the affidavit and then giving that disclaimer at the end of it.
Hold on 1 second, boy. Hold on. Sorry. Please, boy.
See more when you're saying that part.
Please.
Hello?
Yeah, boy.
You hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Your brother,
the disclaimer.
Brother Navi's there?
I'm here.
All right, peace.
Okay.
All right, Mark. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Sorry about that.
Because he's saying, you know, the disclaimer, not giving advice, this is at your own risk or whatever. But you can't say that and then say that this is an affidavit. Because the affidavit, you're saying you are clear. about what you're about to put out. And I'm not beating on him too hard. I'm just saying he just got to be careful. Just right there alone, you can't give that disclaimer and then saying you're doing an affidavit at the same time, trying to teach someone how to do a David and then affidavit, and then you're giving that disclaimer.
And if I pardon the interjection more, if I could please just add, because more is we study, we want to clarify and define what we're talking about. So the word affidavit is found on page 80 of the Black Slow Dictionary, 4th edition. And the first sentence says that it's a written or printed declaration or statement of facts. So that alludes to what Brother Yusuf just said, as opposed to it just can't be subjective, it has to be actual facts.
Islam. Right. All right, boy, go ahead.
And just another thing with the just because I'm reading it as because I'm already ahead. That's probably why I'm already ahead. So I just gotta wait till the video play. I don't know, if the brother want to add on. He's seen anything right now.
One thing as well. With affidavits or declarations, you can't make certain claims and not identify who it is you are. So the first thing is the page should have some type of reference point as to who this is that's sending this. Blank paper is not going to cut it with these Europeans. Because trust me, when they send you their papers, they got a logo on top.
Right.
Or on the bottom. But they're going to let you know who it is. And going back again to, if these people weren't around 5 years ago telling you this, and we know that there are people around pre them, why wouldn't you just do what the people pre these people? What's this thing with, and I realize that that's a generational hiccup. With the generations that aren't old school, they fall for everything. They stay getting played out of their stuff, no matter what it is. If you're making a written declaration and you're not identifying who you are, that claim that you're making is void, because the parties must be identified.
Absolutely.
And again, going back to the point of the fact, it can't be vague. You better know what it is that you're talking about when you send these Europeans some papers. Because they don't take light to people knowing the law and sending them papers. They'll put their law department to deal with Moors writs. They're going to start up some secret whatever to say Moors are paper terrorists or whatever because of writs. This stuff right here, affidavits and declarations of facts written. Which is why everybody's trying to go digital. They're trying to get rid of the evidence.
Yep.
Or the fact that there could even be evidence. If you could just push and it's deleted. Or oops and spill your whatever, your latte on the freaking stuff. lose everything. So recognize the importance of this. This is not just typing up or writing up some nothingness. This is a factual position that you're taking. This is a actual standard that's been laid down before you even got here. That how is it that we're going to claim presentments of our affidavits of fact and not even recognizing that that's a treaty?
Right.
But then you want to do a treaty with somebody, you want them to recognize your treaty, but you're not going to recognize the treaty that set up this whole BS with these Europeans over here. Forget who did it. That's gone. Why are you worried about stuff you can't change?
Right. They're here now.
They're here now. So what are you going to do about it? Now that they're here. Yeah, but the guys with the feathers brought them over here on the boat, and then that's a... Oh, you just finding that out? Oh, too bad. So sad. What are you about to do about it? At least, you know what I mean? This is the first Aboriginal, Indigenous, Autochthon, whatever, that I seen put something up like this.
Can I answer that real quick, Nancy?
Yeah, more. Go ahead.
So the Declaration, I'm on page 495 in Black's Law Dictionary, you know, and it said, you have to excuse the noise in the background, that's a little more.
There's a lot more.
The first of the pleadings on the part of the plaintiff in an action of law. I'll read it again. Declaration. The first of the pleadings on the part of the plaintiff in the action of law. So if he's not in his proper person, isn't he going to be a plaintiff in error?
Which is Dred Scott. Which is Dred Scott, which is Marcus Garvey.
They're identifying as three adjectives. Am I correct? Then indigenous been an adjective, autochthonous been an adjective, and aboriginal been an adjective as well.
Right.
Where are you aboriginal in business to? Like Brother Yusuf said earlier.
Right. That's my whole thing. We shouldn't let that be clear first. Where we know where we're at. This Morocco. So when they talking that Aboriginal, Autochthonous, Indigenous, where? This Morocco. So where they Aboriginal, Indigenous to?
And this is Morocco. Don't worry about Moors. You guys one of those pale Arabs at that convenience store you keep going to in your neighborhood? Go ask that guy if over here is Morocco. See what he said.
Can I answer Jack?
Yeah, more.
I know the response. He's going to invite you to his mosque. Because I mean, I'm speaking from experience. Once they differentiate, because it's a Arab, like I'm looking at the window of my house now where I see the street that says more. How ironically, and right beside it is a store owned by ran by the Arabs. And when I go in there, he always laughs with me about my brethren coming in that's coming by. And he's invited me every time I go in there. He wants me to come to his mosque, come to his mosque, come to his mosque. Islam.
Islam.
You think they don't know? Right? That we're the ancients again. We're the return of the ancient ones when we say that we're Moors. You might see Moors wear feathers and stuff like that, but we're not the feather Moors. We're the fezzes and turbans up Moors with the boats or whatever, the fleets of boats. We're the Moors with the myrrh and the frankincense and the sage and the turmeric and all this stuff. Those are the Moors. The ones that been sailing back and forth, trading with whoever is over here. Nobody even asks the question where those Moors come from. Those Moors that are on the boats, because it seems like there's a lot of these little, what they would say, tribes. It wasn't really tribes, it was really man exercising their own will. And those who exercise their will on the same frequency, they connect with each other. And there's only division when people stay locked into that tribal BS. That they can't be everything. Just that one thing. That's all that they are. They can't be everything. More say that we're everything.
Islam Grand Sheikh, can I interject again?
Yeah, more.
Since we're using the word tribe, can we define what that word is?
Oh yes, please do. Because
coming out of a concise dictionary of English etymology on page 547. And it says tribe, and it has comma, a race. Latin, tribu, that's T-R-I-B-U. Crude form of tribus, that's T-R-I-B-U-S, a tribe. Said to have been one of the three original families in Rome. Islam.
Islam.
So when in Rome, do as Romans do. Right. Right. I didn't hear no talking as Aboriginal in that definition. Not at all, more. That's what they say they are.
Like when we present, it's for the individuals to realize for self what the reality is. Not be told or heard. You actually experiencing what this really is. Because it's real. But you won't have as much emphasis if you don't get behind those that were before you. Because the ones that were before laid the way. Now on our revolution now, the way is clear. All we have to do is implement what was laid down. But now you want to do that. You want to debate with the custodians of the ancient Kemetic mysteries about are we Moors? How are you debating with Moors? We're the custodians of the ancient Kemetic mysteries, which was also over here. That's why Tahuti was over here. Had colonies over here. Egyptian have colonies in the Americas. Oh, but it has nothing to do with the indigenous people. Whether there was an ocean there or not, people have been going back and forth between these places. Millions of years. All one people. Now the ocean stuff separate, and then people turned stupid now. You don't know where they come from. They thought they came from somewhere else. Man put them in chains. Oh my gosh, I can't believe. We're the autochthonous whatever, but then say that you're Indians. What you can't be autochthonous whatever and then say that you're Indians. Because if you're Indians, then that means that you're from India, which means you're not Aboriginal. So shut the hell up. Can't be Indian and Aboriginal. This is not India. Autochthonous. Adjective. Well, Aboriginal. Adjective. How about more? Why just say more? And we know that it's a conspiracy. We know that it's a conspiracy because the one who spoke up for Aboriginal people being Moors was the Empress of the Washita. The actual Aboriginal that said the M word in her book brought up the M word. She was Aboriginal, Indigenous, Autochthon, whatever. But she wasn't playing that tribal mess. She was talking nation.
Can I interject, Grancy?
Yeah, more. Go ahead.
If you're saying that she's Aboriginal and Indigenous, she's Washita, she's Autochthonous. Autochthonous refers to a native to a particular place. So because she's in Morocco, wouldn't that allude to why she's the Washita Moor, because she's in Morocco as well?
Exactly. And then even the European put it in their little citizenship and whatever BS that, yo, you're ipso jure once you're in Morocco.
Right.
You're Moroccan when you're in Morocco. It just depends on how much Moroccan sovereignty do you have to exercise. That's what's going on in Spain or whatever, why all these people could live under the Moors and have no problem. Because everybody had their little jurisdiction. And you don't cross-contaminate.
Gracie, can I add on? Can I add on, please?
Yeah, more.
Now, what the Moor was saying earlier about the Moors and being here, the Washita being Moroccan because they're here in Morocco. Now, I gotta Moors, we love to research. So what I found was there's a dissertation for a PhD. It's called The Image of Moors. The man's name is Muhammad Ibrahim Hassan Amaskari. He wrote this in April of 2008 to the University of Exeter. Now, this is his thesis. This is his dissertation for his PhD that he's getting in Moorish studies in 2008. The first sentence, it says, for the image of, in this abstract, it says the word Moor is a loose term that was used in medieval and Renaissance England to refer to the Moors, Blackamoors, Negroes, Indians, Mohammedans, or Muslims. All these terms were more often than not used interchangeably. That's the first two sentences of his dissertation to Moorish Studies he wrote in 2008. PhD. Telling you right there that the word Moor was used interchangeably for Blackamoors, Negroes, Indians, Mohammedans, or Muslims.
Like, that's all the stuff that we call ourselves. How did he figure that out? How did he figure out that, hey, the word Moor actually means the black people and the Indians and the Mohammedans.
Can I interject more? What Tobacco Brother Yusuf just said, and this is coming out of Thomas Jefferson's Quran, Islam and the Founders, page 134. In his treaty template, Jefferson had described the adversaries as Moorish pirates. So he described them, which usually was intended to imply that some were formerly from Spain. So Jefferson used the term to mean indigenous Muslim North Africans, with the Arab above. The original term Moro, and in quotation marks and parentheses it has dark skin. In Spanish, it was the equivalent, the English equivalent, Moor. But it was not a term used to describe themselves, because the European usage used the faith of the Muslim from Spain or North Africa with a racial implication. The term Barbary developed much of the same way. This is page 134, Thomas Jefferson's Quran. So this would be going back to the 1700s. Am I correct?
That's crazy.
Thomas Jefferson's Quran.
That's crazy. What do you want? Me to kill you?
That's amazing, man.
Thomas Jefferson. Yeah. He had the slaves and he did this and that and da 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 da. But he has his own Quran. Forget what anybody says and wants to do. When they talk about me in the future, they're always going to bring up my Quran.
Right?
And his Quran in it, he's talking about Moors in his Quran?
And that's what Obama mentioned his Quran. So now it also makes you wonder, like, okay, what else do you know, Obama? If you just mentioning that Quran like that, what's
just
in
like
it?
That. Just like that.
That's big time. That's big time. Let me, because I don't know what page it on. I just have to tell y'all what happened. I got this book, the bibliography of Adams, John Adams. His daughter, Martha Adams, married a man named Ronald Mann, last name M-A-N-N. That was, I guess that was his name. But the dude, Ronald Mann, was of Indian blood, quote unquote. But we just went in, told you the word more, what PhD breaks down all of that. So we already know. But it says that he was of Indian blood, who married John Adams' daughter, Martha Adams. The thing was, Ronald Mann, when his father died, his title was Ronald as well. When he died, he told his son, Ronald Jr., I guess, that when I die, I'm going to give you all these acres of land. You get to have them. So what ended up happening, it said that John Adams, being in insignificant debt in the 1700s, lived on this land that his daughter got marrying Ronald Mann. He ended up getting 1,000 acres off of Ronald Mann, who said also, they say he had Indian blood, but out of his own mouth, he says that he was related to Pocahontas. This is in the bibliography of John Adams, his daughter, Martha Adams, who they were French too. And the Adams family, they're French people, but married a Moor here who had land, and was able, so much land, was able to give Adams 1,000 acres and gave him 25 slaves. That's in the book, John Adams' bibliography. But we already know that that's the Moor, Ronald Mann, which is probably his Christian name or whatnot. But I had to add that in there. Yeah, but that's in the book, John Adams' bibliography.
Yo, the boys in the chat said after that one, you just drop the mic. These words are funny.
Telling you, and I got that book from the thrift store again, the thrift store, the hand-me-down store for $1. But then the other thing is, I go there so much. I go there so much that the dude, he just brings me to the books bin in the back. I don't even go to the shelves in the store no more. I go right around the back of the store to the book bins, and listen, just go through all of them. Cause I go there so much. He's like, no, just come on in the back. I go in the back. There's books of bins of books, huge pallets of them, and I'm like, oh, okay. I was in there snatching them out. Got so many books, man. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy. But look, man, I don't even think the dude talked for 4 minutes and 44 seconds. We've been live for how long? For 40 minutes. We gotta let him go in, Grace.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. All right, yeah.
So with that being said, just remember, all right. So this is the affidavit of declaration. You could have did an affidavit of truth, but I didn't want to do an affidavit of truth. I wanted to declare what I'm actually doing. So that's why I went with the affidavit of declaration. But you can go with an affidavit of truth, or you can go with an affidavit. You know what I'm saying? But I chose to do the affidavit of declaration. All right. So, all right. So you see, all right, that's how pretty much what the template look like. Right here, you start off the within name person affiliate. You put your name right here. Like I said, and it's best if you do some research and try to find you some Aboriginal names. I got a couple of names that I was thinking about. Lawanu, Takata Ahanu. I don't know. I'm still debating. I got a couple of different names, but I kind of liked it that. Actually, Lawanu is Marak. That's the tribe that name came from, and that means growl of a bear. Ahanu.
No, I want to hear this part again because I don't know if I heard Marak or what.
Anu, Takata Ahanu. I don't know. I'm still debating. I got a couple of different names, but I kind of liked it that. Actually, Lawanu is Marak. That's the tribe that name came from, and that means growl of a bear. Ahanu mean he laughed, and Takada mean friend to everyone. All right, so these are just some of the names that I'm going with. You know, I actually gave my daughter a name as well, or one of my daughters, or whatever. But I got hundreds of names that I actually like the D's the best. So these names, I'm either gonna go with them 3 names that I just actually put out there.
Can I interject?
Yeah, boy. I got you. I got pardon the interjection senses. I got you.
Because I'm confused now. Okay.
Go ahead, boy.
If that declaration got sent out and you still dabbling between the 1,000 names you sent, I don't know how you sent that declaration out. You still ain't even got a title.
Yep.
You still picking through what titles you gonna decide to get. You playing games, man. Why are you playing games? That's probably why he gave that disclaimer.
Yeah.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah, man.
Page 1174 out of the Black Slaughter Dictionary, 4th edition, and the name, the designation of an individual person or of a firm or corporation. A person's name consists of one or more Christian or given names, and one surname or family name. Islam?
Islam. Now, we're going to go back to this because we want to stress some things, right? Go again with your definition there, Brother Nabi.
Name. The designation of an individual person or of a firm or corporation.
All right.
A person's name consists of one or more Christian or given names and one surname or family name.
Right. So 2 main points: that it's Christian name is Christian, and that name could be a corporation. And in the affidavit of declaration that's being presented by the good brother trying to do his best to get this word out, is putting you into the jurisdiction because you're still saying person. You can't say person. Person means corporation too. So for example, in 2009, we got the stamp right here. In 2009, we did our Washita paperwork. So our Washita paperwork came with a affidavit of truth. So you can see the difference in the language to know that one has some credibility to it, and one, there's a disclaimer. Because this is not what a disclaimer is that we're presenting to you. This is a right if you claim you're Aboriginal and Indigenous. And there's no way that you can be that with having a name. Because if you're Christian, that means you're property, because you're not really Christian. And what you should really be doing is a name correction. But then again, it goes back to what are you correcting your name to?
A title. And the only title on these lands is Bay, El, Ali, Gay, and Al. I don't know about no Moon, Skywalker, or nothing. I don't know nothing about that. I never heard of those names.
Never heard of that. Can I ask a debt, please, Morris? He said that you need to do a judicial proclamation. And Morris is studying though as well as when you go to send these out or whatever there's destination to signature. Well, I only talk through experience. My experience has been that they play games because when right here in my hand, Homeland Security, whoever this is, gets it. I have in my hand envelope and it has tape on it. And it says operations from Homeland Security. You know what I said, Mark?
Yeah.
So the Homeland Security was telling me that they're not listed there where I sent this to, and they don't know what I'm talking about, but there's Homeland Security tape on this envelope. I don't own even the Homeland Security tape. Islam?
Wow.
That's the one that they sent you, or they sent you something?
They sent this to me. When I sent them, they sent mine back with their tape on it.
Saying they don't know what you're talking about.
So they don't know what I'm talking about. The envelope was open. I sent it sealed, and I didn't have any tape on it.
Yeah. So they definitely know what they're talking about. Because again, it goes back to the same thing of evidence.
Yep.
They don't want to touch it.
Yep.
Why? Because it's something that's been in circulation.
So I took it more as in them letting me know by putting their tape on.
Yeah.
But they were letting you know what? Say everyone again one?
That everything that I sent was valid.
Right.
Why did you put the tape on? Why did you give me a signal or sign that you received it, you're in agreement with it, and here's
That's what I was
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even with them responding, it didn't matter what they responded back and said. They just let me know that you got it. It's wrong. I don't care what you said. I know you got it.
Yeah.
You could have said hokey pokey. Hey, you got it. As long as I know you got it. So none of that matters to me. And then you gotta look at it the other way too. They're supposed to be that's abandoned. They're supposed to be closed. They better not send you something back saying they open. They running business. They're supposed to be closed. They've been abandoned almost 200 years now. They better go ahead with that. They can't send you. That's why they sent you that Homeland Security tape. They're letting you know we make tape here. You don't do that. That's the name of the company.
We make tape
here.
We make tape.
Our business is tape. We don't. We secure this box real tight with this tape. Security is Homeland Security. Homeland Security. That's exactly what they did. That's what they did. That ain't even supposed to be open. But they got it. They can play the game if they want to play it.
They can play what they want to play. They got it.
So I just wanted to put that on the record to show that Moors are not reinventing the wheel. We're just doing what was laid down for us and being what we know.
Yeah. So, affidavit of truth. Be it known to all courts, governments, and other parties that I am a natural, indigenous, sovereign, freeborn Washita Demondia nation of Naga Moors. My authority for this statement is the same as it is for all free sovereigns everywhere. The age-old, timeless, and universal respect for the intrinsic rights, property, freedoms, and responsibilities of the sovereign individual. I refuse to be treated as a province and territory, created entity, which is only capable of exercising certain rights, privileges, or immunities as specified, granted by the incorporated government. I voluntarily choose to comply with the man-made laws which serve to bring harmony to society, but no such laws nor their enforcers have any authority over me. Now, this is a different language. But remember, this is Aboriginal, Indigenous, and Autochthonous and all that. But off the top, saying that they're Moors. Why not? If that's the jurisdiction, we're in Morocco, even though we're Aboriginal, Indigenous, tribal, whatever. Aboriginal, Indigenous nation is still in Morocco. That's still the superior jurisdiction. That's why Jolly specifically told you that we're descendants of Moroccans. You're getting caught up with some North Africa Moroccans is who you are. You're not North African Moroccans. You're American Moroccans.
Right.
The Aboriginal, Indigenous, Autochthonous, Negro, black, colored dummies who want to be everything except Moors. Well, you want to be everything except Moors. Can't be everything except Moors. We're descendants of Moroccans, born in America. Descendants of Moroccans doesn't only mean Morocco in Africa. It would be so amazing if the thousands of people who said that they were brought over here in slave ships, and if they could only just take the ship part out and tell the same story, but just have it happen here, well, they'll get reparations so fast. But they let you play yourself. Morocco came into existence after the fall of Kemet, because the Moors were the custodians of the ancient Kemetic culture. So when Kemet fell, that's when Moorish rule came in. You would call them black people that were rulers.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah, Mark.
There's a book that I'm holding called Mapamunda. It's Mappamundi. Mapamunda. And that's dating back to when everything was connected. On page 7, ironically, right? Loop to the inner circle of gold letters, spelling out rounding out the word Moors. And this Moors is spelled M-O-R-S in capital letters, apparently signifying that man and his world shall pass away. So there's a map dating back to antiquity, and the Moors is inscripted there. I don't see a map with any Autochthonists attached to it.
Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. Get out of your narrow-minded scope of reference. In every aspect of the liberation of our people through any form of self-identification, all of them are lacking a nationality. All of them are lacking a nationality. So that makes their claim void. But Moors are lacking the people who don't have a nationality, but Moors got it. We're trying to put them on, they think there's something about debating something. It's not going to happen without us actually making the right declaration and proclamation. Because as soon as you make the wrong one, You played yourself. This is '09. I am not in any jurisdiction, for I am not of subject status, consistent with the eternal tradition of natural common law, unless I have harmed or violated someone or their property. I have committed no crime, and am therefore not subject to any penalty. I reserve my natural common law right not to be compelled to perform under any contract that I did not enter to unwillingly, voluntarily, and intentionally. And furthermore, I do not accept the liability associated with the compelled and pretended benefit of any hidden, unrevealed contract or commercial agreement. So your self is supposed to recognize and realize that what you're putting down has to be fact. It can't be guessing. As soon as guessing, stop the thing and go back to studying. Because you can't be creeping dealing with these colonizers. Colonizers have somebody running for them. They're not even running. They have somebody to run for them. You're creeping.
They love dealing with people who halfway know what they're doing too. That's their favorite. Once they see that you don't know what you're doing, oh, they be on full attack, because they know you don't know what you're doing.
They know.
As soon as they open up his affidavit, there's no CO, no nothing. No nothing. I remember in school they teach you that. Where's your heading? Where's your head? What size paper? What size paper do you use?
Probably.
Letter paper.
Probably.
I'm not gonna. He probably emailed it.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm just playing, man.
It might be. I don't know.
No, because I listened to this whole thing. He mailed it out, but I don't know which side he mailed it out. Now, and even when you listen to the whole thing, he tells you what places to address it to send it to.
Yeah.
And he tells you the same places that Army Dead Chief shows you. And I'm like, man, he got everything.
But what they got? They got everything except the nation, because they think nation doesn't apply. They think individual sovereignty means it's them to exercise. No, you still have to give honors to where you're getting the sovereignty, which is the nation. You're getting the sovereignty out from the nation. So you can't go to these Europeans and telling them about you are the whatever your claim is in fun or trying to see how they're gonna, because we tell more in these day and times you don't get do-overs. You better know what you're doing, because there's no do-overs. The move you make, that's the move. So be sure when you step. This is still the paperwork. Fact. Nabi Sharif Abdul Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Canaanite Temple, Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, Moabite Holy Temple, Moorish Temple of Science, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, adopted as its corporate name the following Moorish Science Temple of America, 1928. Note, we are Moorish Americans, Moors of the North Central South Americas, Americu, Ameximu, Al Morocco, the adjoining islands, Americana. Webster's Dictionary, Thesaurus and Atlas, Moorish, adjective pertaining to the Moors. By the referencing of the Noah's original 1928 edition of the American Heritage of English Language, term American with the definition applies to the copper-colored races found by Europeans, presently applies to Europeans born in America. Correct delineation equals Washita. Webster's Universal Dictionary presents the best definition for the name American. An Aboriginal or one of the various copper-colored natives found on the American continent by the European, the original application of the name. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World is incorporated throughout various said states and nations. The people of a particular belief, faith, religious practice, spiritual traditions, and knowing forms a society. Societies become a nation. Hence, a church, temple, mosque, masjid, synagogue, religions created the state. The Catholic Church's Vatican Papal State is a prime example. However, the religions are private. The state is a corporate. The temple is private. They, religions, can have intercourse, but the temple, church, or religion can function off its own laws. Thus, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World is a civic and religious society with its own separate independent body politic, separation of religion and state. Body politic, the people of a nation or the nation itself considered as a political entity. Collins Essential English Dictionary, 2nd edition. Body politic, a relatively large group of people organized under a single, usually independent government, a country. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World is a government within its own right, separate from the corporate state nation. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World, Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, is properly connected to the necessary laws to get complete autonomy religiously and governmentally. Remember, this is Aboriginal, Indigenous, whatever. Autochthon and all that. The Moorish Divine and National Movement is part and parcel by its incorporation in the United States of America, by the laying of the claim by the Moors on the demarcation line of Kush across Alkebulan, Great Atlantis, North, Central, and South America in the year 1928 by Noble Drew Ali in the Express Trust and Torrance title, Chapter 47 of the Moorish Science Temple of America Holy Quran, of the recording in the Mecca of the filing of the documentation from the proper custody of the Religious Corporation's Trust Torrance title deed on the date 8/1/1928 in the northern Washita location of the misnomer Illinois in the Cook County at the Recorder of Deeds with the document number 10105909 in Book 251, page 79. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World is also an Aboriginal tribal ministry and outreach in association with the Washita de Dugdemondia Naga Moors, an Aboriginal Indigenous Autochthonous sovereign nation. Remember, this is 2009, they're talking about Autochthonous, but they're saying they're Moors as well. Not leaving Moors out. How are you going to leave Moors out? You can't be Aboriginal Indigenous, but you're not Moors. Because we have Aboriginal and Indigenous here from 2009. This is my personal Washita paperwork. Washita are descendants of Olmecs, Aboriginal and Indigenous here. And they're talking about we're Moors. Not talking about we're Aboriginal, Indigenous, whatever only. 2009. So you can't present what you're presenting today when we've been repping paperwork since 2009. It's not some new YouTube fad, do paperwork. You should be down with the people who are doing something. Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs, Washita, been doing it the longest. This is 2009. Bring somebody with something before 2009 that's out here talking whatever about that's who they are, that's what they're repping, and then okay, whatever. Guarantee you, between 2009 and now, these people switch up so much stuff about they don't even know who they are. Once again, remember, this is still Washita paperwork. Once again, according to We Are the Washita, the true story of the first inhabitants of America, African Moors, by Dr. Umar Shabazz Bey. Editor Seti Anu Ali El states, the Washita and Tunica families carry the imperial bloodline. After the U.S. came into our land, these names were altered to Washington and Turner. The Empress Verdiasi Tiari Tunica Washita Gaston L. Bey has also stated that 80% to 85% of the so-called blacks in America Amexem are descendants of this empirical bloodline. The Washita Nation, Autochthon de Dugdemondia, exists as the world's oldest sovereign and independent nation, and is the living descendants of the ancient empire that first ruled the Americas. Many of us have been heard that branded blacks were descendants of African kings, negus, and queens, negas. Nabi Sharif Abdul Ali, Prophet Drew Ali, stated, the Moors are the offsprings of kings and queens. Our lawful heir is His Excellency, Crown Prince Ramses Abel Bey, who was bestowed on June 7, 1999, the nobility title Crown Prince, and in doing so was brought into the bloodline of Her Highness, the Empress Verdiasi Tiari Washita Tunica Gaston L. Bey, and the empirical bloodline of the Washita Tunica royal family tribes. Remember, tribes, but they're talking about they're Moors, even though they're saying they're tribes. Hence, Prince Ramesses Abel Bey became an heir, in fact, the crown prince of the empire, Washita de Dugdemondia Moors. Hence, along with the title crown prince, he gained inherent power. He established a nation within the empire called the Unity Washita, the Dugdemondia, Moorish nation, Unity Washita, the Dugdemondia. This has even been acknowledged by Fredericksburg, Washington, the Empress' only child by son through marriage, the Royal Regent Prince Empire, the Dugdemondia Moors. So just go with what's been going on already. Don't try to do all this new stuff and then convincing people that, oh yeah, you know, use this paperwork or whatever. But, no, you can't say but after. If you're given the paperwork, it better work. You think we're telling people use tax number or whatever like that because we don't know if it works? And what works for me might not work for you either. So you don't get caught up in trying to find out if stuff works from people. You want to know how it works? You go. Do whatever, see if it works. Don't ask, does whatever work? Come back and say, oh yeah, this works. How about that perspective? Was there any more interjections, Morzad?
You're killing them right now, Grand Chief. Hello.
It's all more. Let's go back to Morris. And again, I mean, only because you said disclaimer and stuff like that, so that means we can watch this and we can beat this one up. This one's open season. You know, we'll give thanks for all the work you do, waking up our people that they're Aboriginal and Indigenous and Autochthonous. Yes, you're not in denial of that. All we're saying is you have to say Moors as well and claim that that's what you are. You know you want to be Aboriginal, Autochthonous, whatever like that. You want to claim that that's a nation or whatever, fine. Put Moors in there when you say that. Put Moor in there when you say that. Put Moroccan in there when you say that. Put Al-Moroccan in there when you say that. And then if you don't want to do it, then, you know, stop complaining because you're putting yourself in the jurisdiction, getting the stuff that you're complaining about. And it's really not even 8 minutes in because he had some intro with music. Don't worry, brother.
Now this is after I did my ancestry. I really didn't have to go and really do my ancestry. My grandfather used to go to powwows. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he used to go to powwow all the time. And I already knew he was tribed up or whatever. I just didn't know the significance and I just didn't understand it earlier coming up. But as far as like I went back, like I said, I went back 6 generations on my father's side too. And it turned out that my father, Yamasi, my father is from the islands outside of Georgia. And like I said, you have to do research, at least find out what tribes you are so you can at least put the tribe that the family told you. Now, my mother's side, my family was, you want to say, Tsagi, a.k.a. Cherokee or Ani Yanwanya, you know what I'm saying? But, there's probably other...
Interjection?
Will ain't been more there? His mother's, I don't know where we are.
father. Right. I mean, he's gonna go in on his mother's side too in a second. When he keeps going in.
Okay.
It's just that it's a lot of truth and falsehood strangely mixed.
Yeah.
And if you're not well studied, you miss it.
Yeah,
like,
and again, like you know, it's not a thing of like his only he knows his family's history, right? But when we broaden our perspective, instead of just looking at our limited whatever, there's a new world out here. Like, it's like people who only stay on the block, they ain't never been off the block. You talk about they know something. That's how you experience, you don't know nothing until you get out that box. And we're making ourselves a stepping stone for you to get to a higher level.
Look at that. Did he read that part yet? I found out that my people was American Aborigines, aka American Indian. So he found out that his people were American Aborigines. American is a continent, and Aborigines. So even if you're looking at it at a lower level, so a continent of original people. That's crazy. How did you do that? That's a continent. America is a continent. Aborigines, the first people, like people come from countries. Like, what country are you from? What flag is that? What flag is American Aborigine? You seen that flag?
Mm.
What flag is that? He found out that his people was American Aborigines. Where is that? Where is American Aborigines? You heard of that place? Can you go to American Aborigines?
Nope.
But that's where he found out his people were. That's the same thing. He might as well just left American Indian. American Aborigines, aka American Indian.
That is why I was saying that you have to be specific. You can't be jumpy. Know that the sledgehammer to these people's the head top is saying that you're more. That's what stops the zombie. Nothing else is gonna work. You can try, but nothing's gonna work.
Everything, it's just everything. They just don't want to be Moors. I just don't get that.
It baffles the mind. Why they have to run around.
Webster's Dictionary.
Yeah, go ahead, Moore.
That's Moorish. Moors talk like that. Moors say that. I've never heard nobody else say that. In the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, the word American. The first person I heard say that was Ms. Ryan. And he still says it every second. Every second. I remember he talked about one time how in his dictionary he highlighted it so much that it's starting to fade away. You know, that's why I'm like, Moors talk like this first, man. I don't know where, you know, this and then, you know, the whole thing, it looks well to the blind eye. This will look right to someone who's not studied and just knows on a regular basis. This would be a good thing for them. They see this. I'm not African American. I've been classified and all that. They start saying, "Oh yeah, this is it. This is it." Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's gonna create the same thing that you put the disclaimer for.
Right.
Which is counterproductive. It's better you never did nothing. Better you wouldn't have put it out, kept it to yourself. You know what I mean? Because the difference again is that we're looking at paperwork we know that's worked, that works, that's quote unquote accepted. That's the strength that we're riding on. That there's a good number of Moors who have used their nationality card or used their paperwork as far as putting forth their claim. And they didn't have any issues. And that was pre-2009. Pre-2009. So right now, you better be so correct when you deal with these people. Yeah, we know Moors who Homeland Security went to visit them. FBI went to visit them because they sent some paperwork out. And they really came just to see, you know, are you really, you're Bay for real? You really Bay? All right. You say you're Bay then. You sure that you're Bay? What's this land called? A Mexam. What are you talking about? All right, sorry about that. Have a great day. Jump in their car, out of here. No issues. Because they don't look for disclaimers. What they did is they went and studied. And they studied so much that the information they were seeking found them. They were the bait.
Can I add on to that real quick?
Yeah, more
the part where you said the information finds them. Let people understand, like, what Grand Sheik is saying, like, many examples. Like, for one, like that story I told y'all earlier about Adams. I got the book yesterday. I brought it home. The book is over 500 pages. I just opened it up, and it went straight to that page. I didn't read that book. That was the page that it landed on, and I opened it. The information just found me. I didn't read that book. It was like on page 200 and something. I didn't read nothing in that book. I read that page, and I told y'all all of that. I didn't read that book. The information just it'll find you. Just like the Grand Sheik said, it'll find you. It'll find you.
That's real. The info will find you. Let's see what else is on this.
The tribes mixed up in there too. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, if you can do, you know, your mother, father, mother could have been part of 2 tribes. The mother and your father could have been part of 2 tribes. But just try to find the most recent tribe and see at that point in time what tribes was in that territory. All right. All right. So now it says I, Lawanu, Takata Ahanu, being duly affirmed, standing squarely, declare and proclaim upon natural law. I am currently classified as an African American. Furthermore, I am neither nor African. I am neither nor descendants of African slaves that was allegedly born from 1619 to the 1880s. It say after research of my family history, I found out that people, American Aborigines, aka American Indians, that was POWs, prisoners of war, and made into slaves and forced to work for Europeans that came here to the Americas. All right. Now, also through the 18th definition of the word American, it's saying in the 1828 Webster Dictionary, the word American refers to the copper color Aborigines found here by Europeans. My grandmother on my mother's side was Aniyawanya, aka Cherokee, and my father's grandmother was Yamasee and Seminole. Further, my family lived their lives as Black, Negro, and colored since 1989. African Americans forced and the others didn't fully understand.
Now, consider something. If you're claiming that you're American Aborigine, American Indian, prisoners of war who go to powwows, you're talking about your family lived their lives as blacks, Negroes, and coloreds since 1989, African American. In that time, there were free people. So it's not that your family lived their lives as that. They're descendants of POWs. So you have to make that connection, that your suffering is generational. Because if you don't claim generational suffering, then they're not going to claim generational guilt. They're going to pretend like, oh yeah, you know, the white man sorority stuff, and they got certain perks because they're Masons and stuff like that. They all perks. A great debt's owed. But you're going with the fraud because you're going to say you're Indians. Out your own mouth saying you're Indians. How you not black, which is a corporate status, but you're Indians, which is a corporate status? How? It doesn't even make sense. I want to go through this whole
All right. So I say, furthermore, during the Jim Crow era, laws and acts was passed. I meant to put was passed. Let me fix it because I was actually updating it a little bit. Laws and acts was passed from 1910 to 1930 to reclassify Black Indians as Negroes and colors and other racial terms. Walter.
Right? Like, this is a basic one, void your claim. Basic one. That you can't be putting up some unedited stuff because now think about all these people's mindset now. They're sitting there as you're going through, they're typing this out, or they get the email from you or whatever. They're gonna do just like you now. Go edit stuff, put this in, change that, and then next thing you know, they're the next Grand Poobah, whoever, trying to sell you a package. Of how to beat the system because they created a nation yesterday. Like we've checked people from MHHS, Great Seal, like check people because they want to take paperwork and misuse paperwork. Because a violation, you can't do that. There's a reason why this is being presented to the people, the way that it's being presented to them. And the source of whatever the presentation is better have a reputation, a good one too. Because you're talking about justice taking its course if you don't do stuff properly. Justice is taking its course where Drawley told them more. You be begging to die and you won't be able to die. There'll be skippers jumping out of you while you're alive. Just because you didn't go against what was laid down for you. You get that, yes, you want to assist your people, but stick to doing the stuff that you do great. What about the stuff that you don't do great yet? Because great stuff could be greater. Don't think you made it because you're doing some great stuff. The point again is that this is Aboriginal and Indigenous, but we know that we are Moors. We know that we are Moors. No. Islam Moors, do you have any interjections?
You're killing the grand shake. To that. I'm gonna go in real quick on the part where he's saying, he was American Aborigine, and that his ancestors were enslaved by Europeans. Okay. Not only are Moors questioning the Atlantic slave trade, we're questioning the Aboriginal indigenous people slavery that was going on as well too. Because I still don't see how they could have been enslaving indigenous people here when you're still paying tribute to the Moors, you're still getting kidnapped and enslaved yourselves, where, you know, harems is packed. Everything's going on right now, and quote unquote, Indians is getting enslaved, and the transatlantic slave trade is going on too. Europeans is doing a lot of slavery to be while they in chains themselves. I don't know how they doing that.
Yeah, they got some David Copperfield going on.
Pardon the interjection, Morris. 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro by J. Rogers, page 19. The first slaves held in the United States were not black, you know, quote unquote, but white. They were Europeans, mostly British, who died like flies on these slave ships across.
Here we go, right there.
What is the time period come to where, like you said, the indigenous was being enslaved at alarming rates?
It's an affidavit of declaration too. It's supposed to be factual. That's not factual right there. This would be inadmissible in court.
And again, this is just teaching tool. You know what I mean? We're not dissing our brother who's been letting them know about their Aboriginal and Indigenous. Yes, that is a fact. But we have to go deeper. We can't be shallow if we're Aboriginal and Indigenous.
Right. I even want to critique the part where in the beginning, I mean, you're going to have to rewind it. But in the top of that paragraph, it says, like, I am like basically enslaved right now. You know, I am enslaved right now. But my thing is, you know, there's voluntary and involuntary slavery. The way he worded that, like I am, like you know, you have to reword that. You can't just I am. You have to reword that better. You know, you can't I am. You know, they due to colonization, or you know, word that differently. Right. Look, I am currently classified. You know, you can't just agree to that as African American.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, an acceptance of that classification.
I am currently classified as African American. Okay. Furthermore, like, all right, you know, we see that. We see that you are classified as African American. You know, you're not disqualifying that. You need to disqualify that. And even, you know, you're even giving African, like that's real. You need to quote unquote that, or so-called African American. You know, you need to fix that whole thing. That's all colored. Like, you got to be very careful when you sending something out. You can't just think, oh, okay, this sounds good.
This sounds good. This sounds good. Let's send this out. But see, this is why. Now, if you Aboriginal, Indigenous, Autochthonouses said that you were Moors, you can go to Great Seal National Association on Moorish Affairs. You don't even got to edit anything. Just get your paperwork, declare who you are, proclaim that on the paper, bam, 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 get your little witnesses, get your seal on it, bam, and there you go. Have your paperwork tomorrow. Playing around with editing and all this type of stuff that it's still BS after you edit it. You're not even editing it and getting something usable. Anybody interjection?
You just got to be very careful. You know, I can see what he means, because that's what they say. But I love how the Grandmaster says it. It ain't It ain't what you mean, it's what you say.
Yep.
It don't matter what you mean. I don't care what you mean. It's what you say. But by that whole thing, wouldn't that be him voluntarily subjecting himself back to codes, rules, and regulations? Because ignorance, I mean, that's no excuse. So just because you mean well, they try.
Yeah.
I found out that my people was American Aborigine, aka, you're not supposed to abbreviate. The was is bad grammar, and you should put war or something else. I'm not, you know how more you like, well, can you check my affidavit for me before I send it off? You need somebody to check this application before you send it off. You shouldn't just sent that out.
And again, it's like, you know, there's need for that. You know what I mean? To have somebody that you can bounce your writs off, so you know you can get different perspective. You know what I mean? Because everybody's in a different place. You know, and because everybody is in such different places, who knows what you're gonna come out with? You really don't know. Again, like we were saying, until you actually walk it, until you experience for yourself, you're really not gonna know. You know.
W's, prisoners of war, and made into slaves and forced to work for Europeans that came here to the Americas. All right. Now, also through the 18th definition of the word American, it's saying in the 1828 Webster Dictionary, the word American refers to the copper color Aborigines found here. Europeans. My grandmother on my mother's side was Aniyawanya, aka Cherokee, and my father's grandmother was Yamasee and Seminole. Further, my family lived their lives as Black, Negro, and colored since 1989. African Americans forced and the others didn't fully understand. All right. So I say, furthermore, during the Jim Crow era, laws and acts was passed. I meant to put was passed. Let me fix it because I was actually updating it a little bit. Laws and acts was passed from 1910 to 1930 to reclassify Black Indians as Negroes and colors and other racial terms. Walter Plecker in 1924 made racial integrity acts that was purposely made to stop the people who have been classified as Black from claiming their true heritage of this land. From this day on, I reject the term African American and would like to declare that I am an American Aborigine and my family has been here since the beginning of time. Also, I have the right to self-identify according to the UNDRIP and the ADRIP, and I have corrected all records or paperwork that have me listed as descendants of Africans brought to this country as so-called slaves. It say below I listed a few articles of the UNDRIP and the ADRIP that summarizes my statement and beliefs. All right. So Article 2, indigenous people and individuals are free and equal to all other people and individuals and have the right to be free from any kind of discrimination in the exercise of their rights, in particular, based on their indigenous origins or identity. Number 3, Indigenous people have the right to self-determination by virtue of that right that they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Article 4. Article 4, Indigenous people in self-determination have the right to autonomy or self-governance in matters related to Resolution 217A-3. It say 5, their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing their own autonomous functions. All right. Article 6, every indigenous individual have the right to nationality. Article 7.
Oh, let's blow past that one. It's only one line. It's not important. Well, if indigenous individuals are tribes, why do they have a right to a nationality? If indigenous people is all about tribes, why do they have to tie themselves to a nation? And recognize again that they're going to use the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People that is enforcing the same thing that Noble Drew Ali enforced, nationality. But they're not going to say that they're Moors, which is their nationality. Because the Washita, who are Aboriginal Indigenous, knew that they were Moors. When debating were they Moors, Empress had the fez with the golden diamonds, Empress written in the fez and all that. You don't know about Moors? Think they're not Moors? And it was a while too, because this was maybe the second or third dibble and dabble in the indigenous, whatever, by 2006, 2005, 2006. You know, the quote unquote Black Indian and us being Aboriginal. Slave ship myths, and really eliminating that thought of anything tying us from being other than over here, you know, and coming to that realization that, yeah, it's actually from over here. It's actually from this side. And then again, knowing the history of the names, and even though they might be Christian, they have Moorish origin. You have to think now, who's who and what's what now? Because even when you get over here,
Right.
you know.
Now, Grant, you had asked earlier why they don't deal with the nationality. They want to deal with Article 6. Every indigenous individual has the right to a nationality. Now, if you look in the Black's Law Dictionary, page 1176, at nationality, just a brief, nationality determines the political status. It's the status part they don't want to deal with. Because in Black's Law Dictionary, status on page, 1580, in the brief, it also means a state because it signifies the conditions or circumstances in which one, status also means a state because it signifies the condition or circumstances in which one stands with regard to his property. Now, American Aborigines can't own property. That's what is that? That's not a nationality. That's not a status. That's not that. American Aborigines don't have standing. That's why they deal with tribes. Because as soon as you deal with nationality, you're dealing with a state. Tribes can't have state. Because when you look up tribe, you're talking about Roman. Romans can't have a state here in Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
This Morocco.
Yeah.
As soon as you say nationality, you got to deal with a state. You're dealing with status, standing. Tribe, that's something totally different. It has nothing to do with nothing. That's why they deal with that. As soon as you say nationality, standing, a state, property. Well, we already know property can't own property. American Aborigines, that's a brand. That's something they just made up. That's modern. Nobody never heard of that. That's not an ancient people. That's why they deal with tribes. They start saying tribes, Cherokee and all of that. That's not a nation. That's not a nationality. What flag are you with? Back to that again. That's why they don't never want to deal with that part. They stay away from that.
Islam, Morris. And we're dealing with the United Nations Declaration of Rights, right?
Yeah.
Article 6. So the same United Nations that recognize the Washita Moors as the oldest people on the planet.
Exactly.
The oldest people on the planet.
Yep. United Nations, number 215/1993. Recognized. So why play? Why play? Just get down with the Moors. You know? Before you were on the tracks walking, we just now put you on the track in something that can ride on tracks. Now watch you move. Or whoever that might have thought, oh yeah, just get the email, switch the thing, and then now this is the paperwork. No, that's not what's up. You better know what the hell you're doing. Because remember, buddy has he has disclaimer. So anything happen to you, you're done for. You're done for. You know, because he's telling you. So that's why we're telling you. Because we're talking from perspective of already sent our stuff to Homeland Security and to whoever. Like that's in the past. You know, being that it's that past, it's not even anything on the burners. We don't care about that. We've been being Moors. We need some paper to be Moors. We need some paper to change your status. When the mind changes, status changes.
Right.
So soon man realizes that he's about to F up, he switches up quick fast to do stuff right, just so he doesn't F up. And then after the F up passes, oh yeah, go back to being the BS. Instead of sticking to the program that got you out the mess up. You know? Oh yeah, I wanted to deal with the end part. I'm gonna just go to there.
Can I add on a couple of things?
Yeah, more. Go ahead, fam.
Okay. Now, in the treaties too, like they like to bring up. I mean, he made a disclaimer and said that they don't respect their treaties. But you gotta look. History and law go together. We already know. Now, when they talk about their treaties, if we dealing with law, any treaties that they made from 1789 down shouldn't count because, well, according to them, their first president, George Washington, didn't become president until 1789. First people to recognize the United States as a nation, a so-called nation, was Morocco. So, who was they making treaties with? Who important people they was making treaties with Europeans from 1789 down, if they didn't become quote unquote important and recognized as anything till 1789?
Mm-hmm.
Who was you making treaties with? Who was you saying, oh, well, we said that we had to deal with them, we sold it? Who? They first president 1789. So what treaties? From then down, that's fraud. They wasn't recognized until we recognized them. And then they like to bring up, oh, we got older treaties than that treaty. Woo-hoo. Who signed those treaties? Georgie didn't become president until 1789. I would love to know that. Would love to know that. And another thing because I don't think they so stuck on that Aborigine and back to African movement, they forget who we really are. When I say that these Europeans, their founding, quote unquote, founding fathers, they couldn't do nothing, was frustrated, nothing was going on without the Moors. And for them to try to recognize, we was enslaved as Africans and they sent us over here, or the POW. Okay. All right, let me Luella J. Hall, 1776, 1956. That's the name of the book. And on page 50, I'm gonna break it down too. It says this is Adams, Franklin, and Jefferson. They having an issue right now. Okay. It says after the first meeting at Passy on August 30th, 1784. Okay, now that's another thing too. 1784. Georgia didn't come president until 1789. That's when they recognized them. So I'm always wondering who. Okay, I'm gonna continue. Adams, Franklin, and Jefferson studied their problem intensively. Many of their communications were written, for Adams was appointed minister to Great Britain on March 14th, 1785. Between November 11th, 1784 and October 11th, 1785, the commission sent 9 reports to Congress on their progress with various treaties in relationship to the Barbary. They gave the results of their investigations and asked for funds and further instructions. February 14, 1785, Congress appropriated a sum not to exceed $80,000. You know how much money 80,000 was? From money borrowed in the Netherlands or from any American funds in Europe. So, quote unquote, American funds in Europe. So Congress gave Jefferson, Franklin, and Adams, after they studied their problem intensively, for treaties they were about to pay for. They gave them 80 grand for the 4 treaties that they was going to have to split with the Barbary powers, which was the Moors. The commissioners were empowered to appoint agents to negotiate the agreements. On March 11th, 1785, Secretary for Foreign Affairs submitted to Congress the commission for appointment of these delegates with instructions for the approval of any treaties made by them. From the beginning, in letters to his friends, Jefferson urged a consistent policy. He advocated relentless war if the pirates would not accept an equal treaty. He insisted that the United States should not pay tribute because it was too expensive, frequently ineffective and derogatory to the national honor. Repeatedly, he emphasized, okay, let's go back on that. He advocated relentless war if the pirates would not accept an equal treaty. See, that's evidence of the Moors going to war, losing the war, and becoming POWs. That's how you become POWs. Look, look at the stress we already got them going through. Like, okay, we already had to go to the trust fund. We had to go ask Netherlands for a loan. We had to go to Europe, ask them for all the money just to pay the 4 Moorish powers. We got to pay them off. We got to pay them for tribute. I mean, we got to pay them. We got to pay them for the treaty. It wasn't like, oh, we were forced into making the treaty. No, they paid for that treaty. They paid for that treaty. They was paying for that. There's no, oh, they came and threw nets on us in Africa and shit. No, what? I'm talking about 80,000 in 1785 gold and silver. They was paying for the peace. And then he continues on. It says the views of Adams did not accord with those of Jefferson. Adams considered the Mediterranean trade sufficiently valuable to preserve at any cost except war, which would increase insurance rates on all commerce. See, Adams knew. Like, if we go to war with them, they control we control the spice trade. We control everything going across the water. So if we go to war, that would be stupid because they will make more money. They'd just be like, okay, make the price of the whatever they make and go up. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter. So Adams, he's thinking, which will increase the insurance rates. The United States was not strong enough to wage war alone. Okay, here you go. For as long as France, England, Holland, the empire, quote unquote, etc., would submit to be tributary to these robbers and even encourage them, to what purpose should we make war upon them? The resolution might be heroic, but would not be wise. The contest will be unequal. They can injure us very sensibly. We cannot hurt them in the smallest degree. They're talking about Moors. Look, they founding fathers talking about us. Y'all want to be slaves. They want to be slaves so bad. And Aborigine autochthonists. Look. They couldn't beat us alone. Look how many people they called up. France, England, Holland. They called up everybody. They getting, trying to get brave. Talking about the resolution might be heroic, but might not be wise. Look, unless it was possible. Look at them. Then the contest would be unequal. They can injure us very sensibly. We cannot hurt them in the smallest degree, unless it was possible then to persuade the great maritime powers of Europe to unite in the suppression of these piracies. it would be very imprudent for us to entertain any thoughts of contending with them. They think it's a game, Grand Chief. It's not a game, man. It's not a game right now. It's not a game, man. You think we just, that's what happened. That's what happened. That's why we went to war and them Europeans united. It was like, oh, see, listen, you can't keep going. We couldn't just keep putting that pressure on them like that. Of course they're gonna get through that, man. Of course, look what you talking, and I ain't even, go in on all the other gold and what they was paying annual. They was after the war, they was still paying annual tribute after the war.
Oh, and hold that thought quick fast, cause brother Azza Shabazel was asking about where can you get information that George Washington is George Washita, and I just had to go back for him because he might have missed that part. But I had to go back to, according to Her Highness, because we read this out of the Washita paperwork that we've had in our possession since 2009 to prove that we've been telling people about this. Right? So with regard to the George Washington, according to Her Highness, the Empress of the Empire, Washita de Dugdamondia Moors, Verdiashi Tiara Tunica, which is Turner, Washita, which is Washington, Gaston L.B., stated, indigenous people have been all over the world and specifically on the North American continent for hundreds, thousands of years. Actually, there were some Washita here, Americas, even before the Africans arrived, dating to when all the continents of the world were one. Their lands, the lands of all the earth, were known by the indigenous term Mu. We are the ancient ones, the pyramid and mound builders, the dark-skinned, woolly-haired Moors, who are indigenous, native to North America, descendants of the ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians called the Tamarans. The Tamarain are the ancient ancestors kin to the Olmecs of North, Central, South America and the adjoining islands. The Washita are the direct descendants of the Olmecs, who are the direct descendants of the Dogon people of Mali, Malian Moors, Africa, that lived in Tamaray, along with their kin, the Twa, or the Anu people. The Twa are the oldest people on earth. Read Primordial Signs and Symbols of Man by Albert Churchward. The Olmecas settled the Mississippi Valley, Texas, and southeastern western United States of America up into Canada, North America. The Olmecs and Washita, Yamasee, Kalifunami, and other pre-Columbian Moors of the Americas were part of a prehistoric trade network that began in Africa and spread worldwide over 100,000 years ago and at various periods afterwards, according to the article www.wayne, W-A-N-O-L-I-N-E, or also We Are the Washita by Ra Umar Shabazz Bey. The Washita originally, millions of years ago, came from Africa and were Africans, from Mu or Lemuria, Elmoria, now called the Hawaiian Islands. The Washita are still Tamorian, African peoples, and they, like many of the ancients, said blacks who lived in the Americas became victims of the papal edict that opened the way to colonization of the New World and the taking of people into slavery and occupation of their lands. The Washita, direct descendants of the Olmecs, Anasazi, later called Adena Indians, built hundreds of earthen pyramid mounds all over the southern and midwestern parts of the United States of America. Some, such as the mound at Poverty Point in Louisiana, is one of the most sacred sites of the Washita. Skeletons found in the Washita grave sites from the pre-Columbian period show a tall people with characteristics similar to Africans. So we read all that to read that Tunica is Turner. We came into Turner. You know, they like to talk about how they get the Negro and they took the Indian and then they made him colored and they changed their name. The same thing that we're dealing with. The Washita tribal name of Tunica turned into Turner, and Washita turned into Washington. So this is why George, that they say is the first, right? The first had to be somebody that was indigenous. But they use the corrupt name, so you get lost in the sauce. You think that they're talking about some European thing, when they openly stole your birthright. Pretend like they can't pronounce Washita. They're Washington. Let's say Washington. Washita. Washington. Washita. Washington. Okay, fine, Washington. Stole your stuff. Stole your government and all that. Just because you want to be Indians. You don't want to be Moors? Washita, UN recognized nation. Washita. Y'all playing. I think this was the last little bit coming up.
She's going to put a piece of paper on the back of it, and it's going to be typed out, and it's going to have some wording on it or whatever. I don't know. It varies for different states of what the wording say. Mine's actually, you know what? I don't got mine. Let me see. Do I got it? Nah, actually, I got it over there. I don't feel like grabbing it though. But you guys know, once you get it notarized, all right. Once you take it to the notary. Most banks got a notary. If you got a bank account, you can get it notarized there for free. Or if you go to school or anything, you can get it notarized as well. Other than that, you might have to pay $5.
All right. Any more got anything for getting your paperwork notarized?
I had never gotten my quote unquote notary would be my great seal. That would be my seal would be my great quote unquote notarization on my paper. I wouldn't put another corporate entity's seal on my national document, especially if the corporation is abandoned.
Right, so that would mean a touch on this one. By getting it notarized, you just put yourself back in slavery. Yeah. That this document is supposed to be trying to get you out of. Think about that. You're presenting a document to get you out of slavery, but it's putting you right back in. Because it was them that recognized it, not you.
Right.
Just like we say, Moors, we'll go to Great Seal. We'll go to the temple, whatever, if you want to get something notarized. You know what I mean? If we can't get it notarized, we get 3 Moors and we get them be witnesses. No. And really that. Say that again?
So part of the injection.
Yes, more.
Coming from the Moors account. It's a book called The Moors Account. Page 20. Our first encounter with an Indian nation made me think of my father, who had dreamed of me becoming like him, another republic, a witness and recorder of major events in other people's lives. So you're normally wanting outside entities to be in your private affairs.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And you did it. You didn't make you go down there. You went down there.
You went down there. And this is how we got slapped with it. Just so you know that, you know, all of us do something stupid sometimes. So we're all excited or whatever, because we finally found a notary that'll say, yes, he's gonna notarize this paperwork that we had. Because we've been going to all these different notaries like, nah, we can't do it, we can't do it, we can't do it, or whatever. So we find this notary's game to do it. Go down to the notary, give him the paperwork or whatever like that. He goes in the back to make the copies, and he comes back out like 2 seconds or whatever. Like, hey, I saw this paperwork here. I noticed that you guys have a seal on it. We're like, yeah, that's the seal from our temple. You know, we're just wanting to get your notary on it so that we can have yours and ours to show that, you know, even you guys or whatever. Like, you don't have to do that if you already have a seal. And then we realize that they're in their own jurisdiction. Then we realize what authority we really did have that we didn't know that we had, because we're playing colored people. We're playing colored Moors. Go to the notary and get some notary to notarize some Moorish documents, like dummy. Right? You couldn't touch it after. It's already sealed. What are we gonna do with this? No. That should have been the position with what you're doing. You should have had your 3, 5, 7, 9 Aboriginal, Indigenous, Autochthon, whoever's around you. You're forming your body politic or whatever if you're Indigenous, and then, you know, those people are your witnesses for your documents, because those are supposed to be your brothers and sisters. So now your brothers and sisters, then you need to check some stuff. Right? So no notary. It's not about go and get something notarized by them. They're the colonizers. They made you a POW, but you're going to let them notarize your document. These are the same people that you're hating or whatever. The same people you say stole your stuff or whatever. Then you're going to go get something notarized by them? How does that even equate to sense? Trying to help you out.
But corporations
corporations can only do business with other corporate entities, right?
Right.
So the notary public and a corporate entity doing a business with a fictitious entity that was created on paper, with a fictitious affidavit that he created, right?
Yep.
So he would need, another corporate entity to sign his corporate document.
You always need a corporate. Islam. Islam, boys. Let's see. Hopefully somebody learned something today. You know, you're not gonna take all night. We did about 50 truckloads last night. Well, not really me, more Mizraim. I was kind of in the cut. I was just the Mufti last night. But Islam to all the Moors. Happy Holy Day to the Moors. Moors, do you have any shout outs going out there?
Yes, Islam to all the Moors in the chat. Islam to the Grand Sheik. Islam to the Prophet. Because, without the Prophet, giving us back our mind, we'll be lost, nigga, color black. And that tell him to look up notary in Black's Law Dictionary. I was going to read it, but that's all right. He just better look it up. It's better if man does not know what man is told, so he should just look it up.
Sure.
Islam. Just shouts out to you two Moors. It's a beautiful time to be a Moor. That Notary Republic is on page 1209, by the way, in the Black Slang Dictionary, if you want to read it.
Oh, you can put that. You got it there? If you got it there, you can put it out, close out on that.
You want to read it, Brother Yusuf?
So I'll read it. It's a notary, page 1209. Notary Public is a public officer whose function it is to administer oaths, to attest and certify by his hand and official seal certain classes of documents in order to give them credit and authenticity in foreign jurisdictions, to take acknowledgments of deeds and other conveyances and certify the same, and to perform certain official acts, chiefly in commercial matters, such as protesting of notes and bills, the noting of foreign drafts and marine protests in cases of loss or damage.
There you go, Notary Public.
And they deal with commercial matters in foreign jurisdictions.
Well, that's all you gotta do. Just study the law, man. Just study the law, man. That's all. Islam to all the Moors, once again, happy holy day. I will that we give you a little something for your holy day. You know these Moors. You know these Moors. They heard from Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari is straight. Heard from him a couple of days ago. So he's straight. Peace and love, Moors. Much, much love to all the Moors. Give thanks for the energy. You already know we're sending it back. You already know we're sending it back. Peace and love to all. Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Moors.
Yeah. Secret Society Productions. Do them and not just do me. Do them and I just do me. Masons think they out of blacks, think they national. Celebrating King's speeches at the Capitol. Don't have rights, so they act like an animal. Thinking they the baddest in the dead status. Won't listen when I say they brown, not black. Don't think they sound like a clown on crack. Won't realize since their third eyes closed. Don't realize they waste money on clothes. Children with ashy knees, most are obese. Moms don't cook but order pizza with cheese. And buckets of the clone chicken is finger licking. Till your arteries are sticking, hearts stop ticking. They wanna play the blame game, but it's too late. Most still don't learn till it's too late. I let them do them and I just do me. Stay watching DVD lectures and fun TV. Let the dead do them and I just do me. My order of the day is still nationality. Let the dead do them, I'll just do me. Stay watching DVD lectures and fun TV. I'll do me and let the dead do them. Mixing their trees with the cigarette blend. I'll do me and let the dead do them. Accepting a slave brand to identify them. I'm on Facebook, can't believe they so dead. Talking without thinking, brainless heads, aimless threads. If you're black, you're a slave. Instead of humbling, they delete me from their page, calling me names, but that's no bother. Most are the return of emergency fund robbers, pushing the I'm black to cause friction. That's when I agree and I'm in the jurisdiction. They want me Morisco and at the disco. Caravana isn't carnival, no more calypso. The problem's not the world, but the people in it. Abusers of authority got the people timid. Not behind the wheel, but giving themselves limits. Things I say make pop eyes without spinach. Too much dead to wake up, work can't finish. The first Jews weren't black or their language Yiddish. Let the dead do them and I just do me. My order of the day is still nationality. Let the dead do them, I'll just do me. Stay watching DVD lectures and fun TV. I'll do me and let the dead do them. Mixing their trees with the cigarette blend. I'll do me and let the dead do them. Accepting a slave brand to identify them. The dead will do them like they've always done. Won't change unless in front the barrel of a gun. Won't change, no Barack said it's that time. Youths killing each other, same content in their rhyme. Rappers mislead, situations critical. When we write that spelling, spells are rituals. You might think not, I suggest every thought that you think should be done very careful. Before you give me an earful, my reply, the kind to make your ears tearful. Stomach butterflies won't wonder why. Just accept the message from me from the Most High. That's why most die, cause they don't listen. Nicene Council Conference made you a Christian. Wicked police got circling Kaaba fictions. All law is from Mahad, they say black Egyptian. Causing separations and black divisions. Brown faces frontline on attack missions. The plot thickens, but it's thin perceptions. Got them spending less time on Drawley than Inception. Voting for candidates whose motive direction is to keep us at risk in priority sections and make us have an altered perception. Decepticons got Autobots with deceptions. Let the dead do them and I just do me. My order of the day is still nationality. Let the dead do them, I'll just do me. Stay watching DVD lectures and fun TV. I'll do me and let the dead do them. Mixing their trees with the cigarette blend. I'll do me and let the dead do them. Accepting a slave brand to identify them.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster.
Black power my ass, y'all just playing the ass posing, frontin', no bustin', no dirty cock gun button. At least more's right, rich trying to do something. Pen as my weapon, feathers up and turbans, no bluffing. Don't get it twisted, sort of more get handcuffing. Judges dismiss cases, prosecutors cussing, telling maggots accuse themselves or get sued. Civil right leaders are conscious blacks marching on news, stopping traffic, or people that didn't kill their sons and daughters. In Canaanland, we call y'all writing out of order. Nationality has me awake like a sleep disorder. While most wear blinders, my peripherals broader. For the record, I sweat nervous part recorders. In Admiralty, maritime shores, Moors walk on water. Ancients return with another kills, no sight blurred. While they stay killing their minds and saying they learn.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster.
names before they became slaves. Seems like today it's only nicknames and names. You should be learning so pain could stop from these vermin. German Nazi Inquisition is enslaving with sermons. Declared independence, still giving Moors reverence. Talking treaties with Muslims that overall as entrance to the entrance masses. Keep them docile and passive. Killing their corralling blacks acting like hostile fascists. Take oaths to break them, unless it's from the Lord. They give profits, we take them and neglect ancestors. Playing Mr. Tuffy, smoking a Dutch from the same master, bully stealing your money for lunch. Wanna drink from their bowl cause they spike their punch. With Clorox, I'm not guessing, but I have a hunch. I can say I stand up to mercenary punks while you face proposing with blocks cocked and shotguns pumped.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster.
If you got guns and use them on targets moving. Try KKK badge carriers in your hood cruising. I'm not promoting violence, it's a point I'm proving. Moore's methods do work, but Coons disapproving. Khalid calling you out, but you're attacking the sheep and wanna show me how good you are with your hands and feet. Never challenge a cop when they arresting your brother, but we'll wear hoods and hold skittles one after another. Acting with lethal weapons, email Gibsons and gloves. Shot in the back and watching you suffer. Black standing on corners in seconds like smothered. She forgave him for her son's death. Listen to mother, listen to common exercise in his 5 senses. To end racism, stop looking through racial lenses. Look at constitutional, not civil defenses. Stop marching. The only thing that pickets is fences.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side